Hi, everybody. It's Mark Hanna with Wisdom Gaming. Unscripted, unapologetic, and psychologically immune from social media scoring. I'm Grecian Formula. So, we're here today for our weekly dose of ASL. And so today I want to talk about command control in ASL. It's one of the areas that needs some work, if possible. It might not be easily possible to do that. But here, we're going to switch to this slide. And what? Waterloo? What am I thinking? Well, I'll tell you what I'm thinking here. This is a game from Hexasim, French manufacturer, that has an excellent command control system to play Waterloo-style tactical games. Now, you know, what they call tactical in Napoleonic terms is not the same as ASL, which is clearly down at the company level, maybe battalion level. This, of course, involves divisions and corps. But what you'll find interesting, I think, and I'm going to show you this here, is that, where is it? Here we go. Yeah, the rules for this game, Eagles of France here in this case, show that each of the individual, here I'm going to draw on here. So here is one of the leaders in the game. This is D'Erlon. He's one of the corps commanders for Napoleon at Waterloo, but that doesn't matter. But look how similar this is to ASL. We've got the name. We've got the command rating, or morale, you might call it, and a leadership factor. Sound familiar? Well, it is very familiar. These leaders can all move 10 movement points on the map. And of course, in ASL, all leaders can move 6, so there's some congruency there. Also, they have a command range. Now, in ASL, there is no command range, but we could imagine a command range for ASL being equal to his 6 hex movement factors away from himself. In other words, that's where he could send a runner to give some commands in ASL. Now, in Vassal, this command range is dictated to be 2 hexes within line of sight. I suppose because the leader is being pictured as shouting commands from a location. Even though these guys did carry radios and stuff, they could also radio orders. Probably that was more at the battalion level, though, not at the squad level or platoon level. I haven't really examined that yet. It could very well be that, especially the Americans, had that kind of command control. So, what I'm thinking here is that why not apply this in some way to ASL? One of the biggest problems or challenges, I would say, it's not an easy thing to fix, is while we do have the leadership and there is an element of command control when it comes to rallying, deploying, and things like that, when it comes to issuing of orders, every unit is omnipotent. Basically, you can move as far as you want to. As long as you have movement points, every unit can be touched and moved. Not very realistic in a tactical game. It's just not. That's why Charlie Kibler, in my view, when he decided to do Sassel, he tried to, and he did an effective job. He didn't try to do anything. He succeeded in putting panic rules, command control rules into play so that it wouldn't seem like you had 100% control over your troops as you do in the real game. Unfortunately, that doesn't fix the real game or existing scenarios. So, what could we do to do that? Well, there's another guy, and I should attribute this a little bit better than I'm going to, but I just don't remember his name. But he's come up with another brilliant system, brilliant in the sense that it's comprehensive, where you can use command control rules from the Vassal. It's like Vassal play both sides, can try to use it in existing scenarios so that you can try to translate some of the Vassal random events, I mean Sassal random events, SASL command control rules. Hidden units are sort of semi-randomized, so you can play them solitaire. I think it's called play both sides solitaire. It uses elements of SASL and other things. Uh, the unfortunate part about that is yet another complete and comprehensive rule system, which is ballooned, as far as I can tell, up to 30 pages or more. I can't remember the last time how big it was when I looked at it. It was big. And I just couldn't bring myself to try to figure it out. It was just too much with all the other things going on. Then I came across this system, and I love this system. Well, Hexasim, for some reason, they have some brilliant designers over there in France. Here's the game, Austerlitz 1805. I don't know if you can see that. It's probably reversed. But this is just an absolutely fascinatingly fun game. I'm totally hooked into it. I'm not even playing ASL right now. I don't have time, really, except on the weekends to play some play testing, and I've got some tournament stuff going on. So my focus has been on this game set. So looking at this, you can see that we can possibly have some command control rules in play, and I'm going to explore how that could possibly work. One of the things that's interesting in this, and I'm going to skip to the proper page, I hope. I got to turn off this writing drawing thing. There we go. Okay, so glossary, blah, blah, blah. Okay, lead unit. All of this makes sense in terms of the game. So here's the command control rules, though. And these are done in the function of orders, but what you have to do is to activate a leader, you have to roll less than or equal to his initiative to move. And at the beginning of each turn, orders are issued for each formation. I could imagine that we could set up a system in ASL where we set up orders, an orders page for each unit, whether they're defending, whether they are attacking, or moving, let's just say moving, okay, or whether they're conducting some kind of independent movement. Those would each have different ramifications. For example, if you have set your units to defend, perhaps that would allow skulking, that you could skulk back and forth because you're focusing on defense. Maybe we could add some no cowering rules, something like that for defensive orders. Attacking orders allow you to move from one position to the next, and you would just simply put on the map. You'd have to have a command map, and this leader here, this 9-2, is moving to this location, and his units can then converge on that location, must move towards the location and no further away from the location. That's how this works in this game, okay? So if I were to look at an actual scenario here, let's zoom in on this, okay? This is a game I was playing with somebody who knew what he was doing very well. I did not do well in this. I was playing the Germans, but here we can see different positions of leaders. There's a 9-2. Let's see. Better zoom back out. Uh, what else? Had a very poorly deployed hip gun right here. It was absolutely the worst place I could have put it. Um, Defense is not my strong point. I like to attack. Anyway, so he's got his leaders here, another one here, another one here. And I don't know, maybe I've lost a lot of leaders by now. But anyway, the idea would be let's take this 9-2. And what we would have is another map. We could just print out the map from Vassal. Actually, it wouldn't be that hard to do. If you just hide all the pieces and print out the map, and then you could put locations that they're allowed to move to. Any location would work. You'd put a counter for the 9-2, say his movement command would be to here. And so all the troops that he's in command of, we'd have to define what those command criteria are, but those units under his command would be able to move towards this hex, whatever it was that I designated. They don't have to move that way, but they can't move further away without having to take a task check. So you can move one hex further away, But if you want to move much further away from your actual objective, you'd have to take a task check with that unit. Any unit within the command range of this leader, 6 hexes, or let's say 6 movement points. So this guy, if he was over here, he would have 1, 2, 3, 4. He would be in command. This guy over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 would not be in command. He'd have to roll a task check independently to move or do anything. And perhaps there's the roll right there for a 4. Perhaps he could only move half his movement points or something like that. Okay. You can move 1 hex or half your movement points. So you really can't move as far if you're out of command control. That's how they handle it in the tactical game for Austerlitz, for example. I think the rules are pretty well easily overlaid without creating a lot of, I'd like to say, ASL jargon, ASL rules, 30 pages of rules to figure this out. I'd like to see if it'd be possible to overlay it in a very simple 1 or 2 page of rules fashion. I think it's possible to do that. I don't have time to bite into it now, but it would certainly make a lot more sense in terms of command control. Clearly, you'd have to be a little more careful with your units. Maybe each side in a scenario should get an extra 7-0 or something like that. The tank elements would also have command structure. They'd probably need to operate in platoons. One of the things ASL has all the time is this independent tank movement all over the place, wherever you want, precisely exactly where you want to go. Maybe that's not fair. Maybe they should have to have some kind of command control radius that they have to stick within. Now, of course, the platoon movement rules make more sense if you have no radios. They all have to be adjacent to each other, and that's great. They've figured that out for radioless AFEs, but in ASL they haven't figured it out for ones with radios. But they didn't operate independently like we see all the time. They operated in platoons, and so should our units here. ASL is fundamentally lacking a command control structure, except on the individual squad level for rallying, deploying, as I earlier said. I've already mentioned that. So it would be good to see if this could be overlaid into existing scenarios. You'd have to think about what would happen. Let's say this guy tried to activate and he failed to activate. Well, then you'd have to activate another unit. And then you'd have to activate that leader. Now, if that leader failed and all the leaders on your side failed, you'd have to pass, and it would go over to the Russian side, and they would get to activate a leader. So it would turn ASL into more of an impulse-based system, where you'd have a turn, and you'd have 1 or 2 activations per turn per side, probably 2, to represent offensive and defensive phases, just like they do in the other game, which allows 2 activations per unit. If a unit does fail to activate in that game, you are able to do a strategic move to get them moving towards where they need to go. And that would also be allowed in here. If you never activated your 9-2 due to bad luck or something, at the end of the turn, they would get a strategic move for his group of units, as long as they didn't move within, say, normal range of any squad inherent firepower, something like that. So I can envision this actual overlay working pretty well. I think you could too. It would change the game a lot. It wouldn't be I go, you go 100% anymore. You'd have phasing based upon ASL rules, but new command control rules. It may not actually work with the existing game ASL easily. It'd have to be tried out. I'm probably at some point going to play around with this, but before I do, I've got plenty to do in this. They have a lot in their series. They've got Austerlitz, they've got Waterloo, they've got Quatre Bois, they've got Ligny. They're coming out with a new one, an Eylau, which is one of the Napoleon's only defeats early on, I think in 1809. Am I thinking about the right one? Yeah, I think so. Where he was crossing the river and got bunched up and couldn't get across. Uh, so there's quite a few interesting games available with this. I have to say, I'm having a blast with it. So I highly recommend the series. I've also got a series going. This is my ASL weekly dose series. And so I'm trying to do as much ASL as I can, but I have to say right now I'm really, really focusing on that because it's a heck of a lot of fun and has that realistic feel. You know, in the Napoleonic era, there was a lot of fits and spurts. So and so went forward, then finally these guys went forward. Um, this activation sequence really has a realistic feel in Napoleon. There's a lot of tactical games in World War II that do this impulse move or even individual move. Uh, that Heroes game has that where you like activate an individual tank or unit. Um, I'm not so sure if old school tactical does the same thing. Um, and you know, I think that's a little bit too granular. I don't think that individual activation of units gives you the right feel for a tactical game. I go, you go in ASL works because you have a lot of interaction anyway. You've got defensive fire, you've got residual firepower, you've got artillery coming in on the offensive fire, defensive fire, I should say prep fire. You've got close combat, which is mutual. So ASL does a good job having this interplay between sides. We love the game. I love the game. There's no question about it. But the one thing it's missing would be a nice overlay structure of command control that's a little less, how shall I put it, granular like Charlie Kibbles is in Sassel. So that's all I have to say for today. If you like this video and you would please then hit the like button and subscribe. Love to have more subscribers. If you didn't like it and you sat all the way through it to listen to this, thanks for watching all the way through. All the best to everybody. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. I'll see you next week.